Hello, Mr. Jahid. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. So, Mr. Jahid, we have gone through your resume and we find it very experiencing, and we hope you are well versed in Java programming and also in both manual testing and automation testing.
Correct.
Great. Could you please tell us something about yourself?
So my name is Zahidul Islam, and I recently graduated with my bachelor degree in computer science, and I have worked in Uber Eats for 2 years as a software QA engineer, and where I did testing mobile testing tools and use API testing. We're using Postman, and I keep track on the new requirements. And also I have used requirements using Jira test rail tracking the bugs. And I also have performing the functional testing regression and using VDT Cucumber framework.
Quite a huge experience. Okay, it sounds great. Could you please tell me about the difference between functional and non-functional testing?
Sure. So in the functional testing, we have unit testing, black box testing, white box integration, then the system testing and acceptance testing. In the other hand, in non-functionality testings are more about the security, such as the load testing, stress testing, and penetration testing, which is used to avoid cyber attacks. And these are the compatibility testing, which is to test for all the search engine that the application is working on each and every browser.
Very good. Okay. I think you have done also manual testing, right?
Yes.
And you are still doing in your current project.
Yes.
Okay. How do you usually write a test case?
Can you repeat the question again? Like,
How do you usually write a test case?
So basically, the way we write the test case, or I do the test cases is we have like the description. I write it like the test case ID, and then I write the test case description. For example, like user should not be able to log in with the valid credentials, and we put then module name, which is login, since we are working on the login functionality. And then we provide the test cases steps of we provide the URL of that website, and then username and the password and the steps of how they will be able to log in. And on the test data, we provide the username and the password that they will be using. And expected result is like for this one is like login is successful, and actual then we write the actual result, which is also like unable to pass the login success. So then the status is pass, and then we write the priority and severity, which is high. If that is high, that means that action needs to be taken as soon as possible for the severity as well. And then we write whoever test their name and the date of the execution.
Well and good. Very
How
good.
pass and how we fail.
Well and good. You said about test cases and also mentioned about test steps. What are the difference between test case and test steps?
Um, on the test steps, it mentioned everything of through the points of where we will be opening the URL, and it mentions the credentials and the hit the login button and everything that needs to be accessed on the website. Where the test cases, it's like a verification process rather than just steps.
All right. Could you please tell me the difference between validation and verification?
Um, For the verification, it is the process of checking the documentations like design, code, and program. I think it's a process of oriented activity where the validation is a dynamic mechanism, and it is the product oriented activity where it uses, I think, black box testing, white box testing, and non-functionality testing, I believe.
Okay. And priority and severity are commonly used in QA. What are they?
The severity is a defect of the degree of the impact of, like, it shows how critical is it, like a major or minor for the severity, and the priority is like how soon that actions have to be taken. If that's critical, is it like low or minor, then that can be done in later on, but if that is major issues, then that have to be taken as a high priority.
Okay, fine. For you, when should QA start?
The priority.
When should QA start? When we should start testing our web application?
As soon as we find the bugs, we started to test the applications. It's by the QA person. We find the issues and the errors.
Okay, fine. You mentioned in your current project you are using bug reporting tool Jira, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do you do when you find a bug?
So basically on the Jira, which is a reporting tool. So when we test the website and the interior of the website, whenever we have the issues, like such as when we added new features on that functions and that's something that doesn't work properly, then based on the requirements, then we started reporting on the Jira and create the new ticket of the issues that is something needs to be fixed by the developer.
All right. Could you please explain a little bit the process of reporting a bug on Jira?
The process is very simple. When we find that, we create uh, the issues and we provide the description just like we wrote it in the test cases. So in other hand, we write the URL and we took a screenshot of the issues. We attach to the description and we provide the credentials as well and mentions the occurring the issues, and then we submit it and create the open issues for the developer of that test lead until we get the response.
All right, fine. Mr. Jahid, we want to also discuss about Java programming. How much are you comfortable with Java programming?
I'm very comfortable with the Java programming, yes.
Okay. What is Java programming?
Java is a programming language. It is a very popular language, and Java programming language is used to like create or develop new a web application and test web based software. Sometimes we use Selenium WebDriver.
Are you familiar with variables?
Yes, I'm familiar with variables.
What are variables in Java?
Variables is a container to store data, and variables can store single data.
Do you think we can store multiple data?
That have to be arrays. Arrays can store multiple data with
Okay.
index number of 0.
Then what are the difference between variables and arrays?
Variables can store single data and arrays can store multiple data.
All right. Variables stores, you said, single data, and arrays can store multiple data, right?
Yeah, multiples.
Okay. Are you sure variables cannot store multiple data? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, fine. How many data structure in Java? How many data types?
There are 8 of them.
What are they?
It's the first one is we started with byte.
Then
we go with the next one is int. Then short.
Okay.
Byte, int, short, boolean. Then float. Then double.
Okay.
And long, and car, float. So these are the 8 of them.
All right. Why do we use conditional statements? Can you tell me in brief, why do we use conditional statements?
The conditional statements like we use to specify the code or the block of code to execute and to see if it is true or false by using like if else.
All right. What is function in Java?
What is function in Java, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the functions in Java, it's like the method which has a return value of a void. So that is called the function in Java.
What is method then?
Say that again.
What is method then? Method. What is method?
Method is a block of a set of code to use. It's a block of code which runs or execute when it's called by the name.
Okay. So you say method is block of code?
Yeah, it's a block of code to run or execute when it is called by the name.
Okay. You mean it is a block of code that only runs or executes when it is called by name?
Yeah.
Okay, great. How many types of methods are there in Java?
We have built-in method and user-defined method, but in the user-defined, we have two types of method, which is static and non-static, where static method is we can access the method inside the method without creating any object, but on the other hand, for the non-static, we cannot access into the non-static method without creating object. So we have to create an object in order to access the non-static methods.
How comfortable you are in object-oriented programming, Jahid?
Say that again.
How comfortable you are in OOP?
I'm very comfortable with the OOP, which plays a special role in Java.
All right. How many principles are there in object-oriented programming?
In object-oriented programming, we have four principles, which is inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulations, abstraction.
Okay. Could you please explain with some example all these four principles in brief?
Yes, so inheritance, which is inheritance in Java, like child class can have all the they can inherit all the attributes or methods from the mother class or the super class. So it is called inheritance. For example, the mother class, we have the methods inside there, and it has some variables. We mentioned with some like int, float, or strings name, and for avoid repetition of the code, we use the inheritance and create the child class. So on the child class, we use the extend keyword to inherit all the methods from inheritance, so that any changes we can do in child classes. And for the polymorphism it's a many, and by that it is like for the polymorphism, it has many classes that can like inherit all the related by the inheritance. So it means it has one mother class and it has other lot of child classes. And we also use extend keyword to get all the attributes properties from the mother class and the polymorphism. For the encapsulation and abstraction, they are most likely pretty much same, but not exactly. And in the encapsulation, it is to protect the sensitive data, or like wrapping the sensitive data. In encapsulation, we use private keyword. So by that, no one can able to access that. It hides the data from being accessed by all the users. But however, we can get the access if we use getter and setter method, and by the using access into these variables, attributes, or properties. And abstraction, it's almost the same, but it does hide the data, limited data, I believe, and it's like for the abstractions, it can be achieved like by either abstraction class or interface, and it is to process like to hide certain and sensitive data.
All right. What is the purpose of creating object?
The purpose of creating object is it's an instance of the class, and to create the object, we can have the values and attributes, and we can create a new object by class.
So, what is actually class?
Class is nothing but a blueprint template which we use to create the object.
Okay. So, how we can actually create object? Could you please give me an example? process of creating object.
So like you mean like the example of like how we create?
Yes, how we create.
So if is it example then we create the object by we taking the for example like teacher is a class name, like we class name, and then we put teacher1 then equals to new teacher1 method, which is where the teacher1 is reference variable reference to the new object. So that is how we create the object.
Which part is object here?
On the right side, which is new object, like new teacher1.
Are you sure it is object or teacher1 is object?
Teacher1 is a reference variable referring to the new object.
Alright. So you said we create object to access all the properties and methods of a class, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. What is properties, attributes, and fields?
It is that inside the class we write such as like int equals 8. Those are the values and the attributes we write inside the class. That is, these are the fields and the attributes, and also the methods we create.
Okay. Is class a logical entity or physical entity?
Class is a logical entity, and the object is a logical and physical entity.
Why object is both physical and logical entity?
Why is object right? It's
you said object is both logical and physical, and class is just logical entity. My question is, how object can be both physical and logical entity?
Because in Java, the physical entities like as well as the logical entity were class in Java. Like as I mentioned that it's for the representing the things of produce logical activities in the object. So it represents valuable system under the object. So that's why they are logical and physical entity.
Okay, fine. Mr. Jahid, let's go to Selenium part. What is Selenium?
Selenium is a set of tools which we use to test and like in the automation part.
Alright. So how many years you are working with Selenium tools?
So Selenium?
How many years are you working with Selenium?
I've been working with Selenium for 2 years.
2 years. So from the very beginning of your career, you are working with automation, right?
They hired me as automation, but I most likely worked for manual. But if they needed on the automation side, I went there and helped them for the automation areas.
Okay. How we can print current URL in Selenium using Selenium command?
How we can print the URL?
Yes.
By using the locators from the Selenium, we can print out, for example, we take the WebDriver, .chrome driver, and then the second line we write driver.get, and then we put the specific URL that we are working on.
Okay, fine. Let's go a little deeper. Are you familiar with TDD?
Yes, I'm familiar with TDD, but I have not worked much on TDD, which is the test-driven development, but I most likely worked with BDD.
BDD, you mean Cucumber?
Yeah, BDD Cucumber framework.
Okay. What is BDD Cucumber?
BDD Cucumber is a behavior-driven development, and it is used to test it is used to test the websites of the applications so that the programmer can test and verify the software web application.
Could you please explain in brief some of the features of BDD Cucumber? Some of the main features.
I did not understand properly.
Could you please explain in brief some of the main features of BDD Cucumber framework? Some of the important features, some of the keywords that you are using in your framework.
Yes, so in BDD Cucumber we use the Jekyll language and the Java language.
Okay, what else?
And then we use a Maven, where it has the bomb.xml file where we add our dependencies to create the project.
Okay. What is Maven?
What is?
Maven.
Maven is a build automation tool which use to automate the program.
All right. Could you please mention some of the keywords that you are using to develop framework in BDD Cucumber using Gherkin language?
Yes, so for the Gherkin syntax we use given, when, and the last three, which is then.
What are these? Given, when, then. What are these keywords?
These are the keywords for the Gherkin syntax, which we write under our feature .feature extension.
All right.
For these, and then we write our scenarios.
When do you use scenario and scenario outline?
So the scenario is we write when we have a limited syntax, but for the scenarios outline it is multiple set of data. So if we have to use multiple scenarios of data, then we have to use scenario outlines to avoid repetition on the runtime.
Are you familiar with feature?
Yes.
What is it?
Feature is the current test script which we describe and the step by step by using the language when given and then, and before that we write the scenario, and a feature is like one can have one and more scenarios, and more scenarios means scenarios outline. And in BDD feature is also a keyword when we type into the database.
Is there any feature in BDD Cucumber that can generate reports of our framework?
To generate the Cucumber reports, we use HTML, JSON, to like generate the reports.
Do we have any feature? My question is, do we have any feature in BDD Cucumber to generate reports? Is there specific feature to generate report in BDD Cucumber in the framework?
Certainly not, but I think by running a bit, we to get the features we have to add dependencies.
Okay. So how do you generate a report usually?
So I first I create the dot feature file, and as I mentioned, we provide write by following the Jetty language, and then we write the step definitions. So on our login feature, we execute it, and we get some snippet codes which we add into our step definition class. So that can be, because of that, have to be mapping and binding. And then lastly, on the third one is a test runner class where we write with the run with Cucumber class and the run options. And on there, we add the plugin of the Cucumber reporting. If someone wants to get the HTML or the JSON, we provide the link, plugin link, and then we use the command come and get the HTML report, which directly generated into the target folder, and that's how we get the report.
All right. Jahid, I see you have a very good concept, especially in theoretical. I'm not sure whether you are really does have experience in developing a complete framework from scratch.
Yes, I do have experience developing from the scratch.
Are you developing framework from scratch?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Mr. Jahid, whatever you have said, whatever you have told us about BDD Cucumber, can you show us from scratch developing a framework with BDD Cucumber, develop a framework, then generate a report? And are you using advanced level of BDD Cucumber? Like, are you executing the framework in parallel?
Yes.
Are you executing the test framework parallelly?
Yes.
Okay, fine. And also, how are you preserving the codes, the frameworks?
So we are preserving, like every 20 to 30 minutes we pushed our project or the framework file into GitHub.
Okay, so this is your best practice in your company, right?
Yes.
Every 20 or 30 minutes you are pushing the code into the GitHub. 20 or 30 minutes? You said 20 minutes or 30 minutes?
20 to 30 minutes, but maximum time it is 30 minutes.
Okay. So, you know how to push them?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please tell me how you do it, the process.
So basically, we open the terminal on the specific IDE. If we use Eclipse, then on the Eclipse, if we use IntelliJ, then on the bottom it shows the terminal. On the terminal, we first write. No, before that, we create a file into GitHub, and we provide a name into that. For example, if we're working on
file,
website.
You mean repository?
Yeah, we create a repository into GitHub, and we copy the link of that repository, and then we come to the specific IDE. For example, I'm using IntelliJ, so I open the terminal, and I first type git add all, and then git commit -m, then in the column we I write a specific name. Sometimes the most common is commit, and then the third steps comes with the git remote add origin, and we paste the repository like the link that we copied from GitHub, and the last one is git push u origin masters, or sometimes they use main. So, and then the project or the framework is directly pushed into the GitHub.
Okay, fine. Are you familiar with utest.com?
Utest.com?
Yes.
Yes.
Utest.com. Now we are going to the third part of our interview. First part was on QA engineering, manual testing and automation testing, and second part was on Java programming. Now if you have time, since we are trying to hire someone for our company within very short time, maybe maximum we will take 2 to 3 weeks, and we want to complete the whole interview process by today or tomorrow. Do you want to do the practical part today, or you want to do it tomorrow?
I want to do it today.
Okay, fine. So suppose you have to develop a framework on the application https://utest.com. we want you to work on two features. Okay, two features. Features will be two. One is login functionality, okay, and another feature is logout functionality. Okay, now you can make it all together, or if you want to create different frameworks, you can do it, but you have to do it within an hour. Are you comfortable to do it?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Then I would request you to drop the connection first and reconnect with me, then share your screen, and whatever you are doing, try to explain it. Okay, whatever you are doing when you are creating a project in Maven, you can just explain what you are doing while you are developing the framework from scratch. Okay, from scratch, we want here to work on framework from scratch. Okay, and we want reports, and we want you to execute the test parallelly, right? Okay, that's all. Okay, and can you do it within an hour?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So please drop the connection and join back. Once you join, just share your screen and start working, and just complete within an hour. Okay, and try to explain what are you doing from scratch. Okay, thank you so much.